Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Dropping Down from the Rafters podcast here on Toned In Entertainment. Joining me here on our first, post-show type of show, I guess you could say, for the Royal Rumble 2024. I got Tyler Peters joining me here. How you doing, Tyler?
Tony, it is fantastic to join you. Thank you so much for the invite. I cannot wait to discuss the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, Royal Rumble 2024 just ended, so we've got two answers. We know who is going to WrestleMania for both the men and the women to main event. We don't know who they're going to go up against, but we've got two winners.
We do.
And in fact, something really different happened this year. It's only the second time ever in all these years of the Royal Rumble is that someone actually won the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row.
Oh, they did. That's the big news.
Yeah,
sure.
So should we just jump right into the guys' Royal Rumble? I mean, it just ended like 5 minutes ago, so I think that's freshest on our mind, right?
Absolutely. Let's do it, man.
Okay, so for the first time the second time in WWE history, somebody has won the Royal Rumble 2 years in a row, and that goes to the American Nightmare. Cody Rhodes is going back to main event WrestleMania here in Philadelphia in just in about 2 months.
Yeah, it's getting very close. The American Nightmare has done it again, just like you said, Tony. And what a compelling ending. It came down to him and CM Punk. And there was a lot of just cool moments during these type of matchups. I love the storytelling. I think I'm with you and a lot of people. I love the build-up, the anticipation, and the excitement, the energy it brings overall regarding these type of matchups and how they're laid out.
One thing that really caught my attention is that the announcers were saying, and this is what I love about the crazy world of professional wrestling, was when the last two men in the ring were CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. You know, they said, did you ever think 6 months ago or a year ago, that the last two guys in the Royal Rumble would be CM Punk and Cody Rhodes? It's just wild to even put that thought process together almost.
Oh my gosh, it is so crazy because who would have even fathomed or imagined that CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, who were just in AEW, and this is not a knock on All Elite Wrestling, it's just who would have ever envisioned Cody Rhodes making a return back to WWE and especially CM Punk, and that they would be the last two remaining for the 2024 Men's Royal Rumble matchup with an opportunity to either face Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And you said it at the top of the program in Philadelphia, Tony. And I love how the promo set it up on Raw. And none of us knew. I mean, we heard the rumblings, but to actually witness Dusty's son, and let me just say it's Cody. He stepped out of the shadow, but that's the story they've been betraying to finish the story. And CM Punk has not lost a step. He looks great. So does Cody. And you could tell that both guys are happy, especially Punk after everything that has went on. We don't need to go into that. Keep it positive. But you can just tell it's a breath of fresh air for CM Punk being back in WWE.
Well, what I like about the ending here was that it was this Final Four, right? And you really felt like, sometimes you get a Final Four and you're like, okay, well, I know it's going to be these two guys. But with Gunther in there and Drew McIntyre, I mean, I was Team McIntyre. I was really hoping for Drew to pull off kind of like an upset, out of left field type victory. That's whose corner I was in when he got tossed out. I was pretty bummed. But, we kind of had to figure that it was going to be either Cody or CM Punk. But I really felt like they kind of drew us in with these final four, that like any of these four guys, I mean, Gunther's been on a tear. Drew McIntyre is a beast on his own. So I really feel like almost at any point, any one of those four guys actually could have won this Royal Rumble.
I'm with you. You can't disagree with the formula. I mean, Drew McIntyre has been there. I mean, he won a Royal Rumble and then ended up being the champion. Unfortunately, it was during the COVID era. You didn't have fans, so it was disappointing in some regards, but you were still happy for the Scottish Warrior. It was a monumental moment. And to have not only Punk, McIntyre, but Gunther, to have Cody lock eyes with Gunther, that's what I enjoyed about the Rumble. And then you had Jimmy and Jey Uso start off the matchup. You had some bloodlines carrying over concerning their story. And Paul Heyman mentioned this. I love hearing how the commentators relay this type of information during the broadcast, that it was Paul Heyman during the SmackDown segment that informed Jimmy Uso, listen, you want to impress Roman Reigns? You want to be the next in line and not Solo? Enter the Men's Royal Rumble match. And that's what he did.
Yeah, there was definitely, that's why I was kind of really rooting for Drew McIntyre a little bit, because he had his WrestleMania moment. But again, it was in that 2020 with no fans, and it's going to be in Philadelphia this year, and it's going to be loud and rowdy and crazy. So I was really hoping for that. But, in the end, it kind of all makes sense. And I mean, who do you think Cody goes after? Does he go after Seth Rollins, who I'm hearing is injured? So who knows what may go on there? But or is it the rematch where he goes after the big dog?
I think it's got to be the rematch. Yeah, I think it's got to be against Roman. I think there's unfinished business. Roman's in his way. Nothing against Seth. I think that would be a terrific matchup. But knowing how well Cody can work in the ring, and how Roman is so good when he's methodical, as he was tonight, and we'll get into that matchup here in a little bit. But I just like how there's a lot of the story between Roman and Cody. And even though a lot of people were hoping Punk would come back and win it and possibly face either Seth or Roman, and maybe we get a Punk Rollins matchup. Gunther was a favorite of mine. There's something about the ring general and him having that European personality that has resonated with me. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat. He's just got all the essentials. He's got the psychology, those chops. I mean, he can wear you down, but he's very athletic. And he looks great. I mean, he's another one that you can tell puts in the work. And I can't say enough good things or share any more compliments than we already have about Gunther. He's another one. I really thought there was a glimpse of hope that he could have won the matchup. Think about the Intercontinental Champion challenge and a world champion. To me, that was interesting.
Right, because that hasn't been done, I think, since Warrior Hogan. I mean, it might have been done before, but that's what I should say. That's the one that really resonates with me more than anything, is that Warrior Hogan at WrestleMania, title versus title, right?
Yeah. I mean, and the intensity of Warrior and Hogan with that confrontation, you could see, they weren't amped up as they should have been. And, Toronto, I believe it was. And hey, speaking of Hulk Hogan, he got to narrate the Royal Rumble. And it was cool because he's from the area, Tampa Bay, and knowing the history with Dusty and better than anybody, Tony, the history of wrestling in Florida. I thought it was the video package was done so good, and to see all the stars training added kind of a Rocky feel. I'm not comparing the two, but it just gave it more of that sports big fight feel, like you knew this was important. So I have to give a lot of credit to the way WWE produces these videos to get intertwined with the stories. I've just always thought that was brilliant when wrestling companies do that.
You know what? My one disappointment to those Hulk Hogan promos was, I was actually hoping for a Hollywood Hogan cameo tonight of some sort.
Yeah, me too, man.
I thought they were working on appetite for, right?
Yeah, I can't do a good Hulk Hogan impersonation. I'm going to leave that one alone. But still, just to get a promo, even the tease was fun, though. I mean, to think about it, even though people probably, his detractors would laugh it off, I would have popped when I saw Hogan. I'm one of those guys that appreciates what he's done. I could care less about the other stuff. No offense, but I guess I'm got to be honest. I mean, I was a Hulkamaniac before I liked Sting and all those guys and became a a Bret Hart fan. I can't deny that I was sporting the red and yellow. I've got a Hulkamania shirt too. So I go wherever. I mean, I've got a lot of those guys that I really look up to. But yeah, Hulk Hogan's synonymous with the early history of WrestleMania and those big events. And why not have the Hulkster? I think that's the respect that the company is showing him, and he's given back by putting over the stars. That's what was cool about that segment. He was putting over who are some of the ones he sees a lot of potential in that are the breakout stars. And you talk about getting somebody over elevated. That's all you need. You heard it from Hulk Hogan himself.
Well, we have 30 guys in the Rumble. There wasn't any big surprises this year or shockers or returns, which was kind of a disappointment. It's the one thing we all kind of hope for is that, Edge return, or just maybe somebody from the past to come out. So we really didn't get much. We did get Andrade return to WWE tonight. But it just wasn't, you're hoping for that like moment that everybody's talking about the next day. I don't think there's really too many moments in this particular Rumble other than maybe the finish. I shouldn't say that because there was one standout for me here in the Rumble that really showed off a lot of skills, and that was Braun Breaker. I thought he was kind of like the beast in this Rumble, like the guy that actually threw the most people out. At least I don't have the official numbers here, but it seems like that he kind of was the dominant force in there for a long time. I thought Braun Breaker was a really great standout here in this men's Royal Rumble in 2024.
I think Braun Breaker, you're so correct, Tony, impressed everybody. He's got the genetics. He had the background in athletics, being a football player. Braun Breaker, his speed, I think it's cool that they brought up the stat that he was real quick, like 20-something miles per hour off the ropes. And you could tell the explosiveness, the power, and seeing how Braun came out, his entrance. I mean, he can intimidate you, and he's not going to fear any man. There was a lot of guys bigger than him or were looking down at him, but I don't know, as far as the strength factor. But you're so correct. Braun Breaker had just such a strong showing. That's one way to get over your young star, and you said it. He's a beast, man. That's going to be a future world champion, and you're already seeing the success in NXT with him. So that was, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the one line I really liked from the commentators tonight was that he could get caught speeding in school zone for how fast he can run. Yeah, I thought that was a great line, though.
No, it was, and I'm glad you mentioned about the comment. Was it Corey Graves? I can't recall, but it was very timely, because that's one way to get over the star. I mean, you come up with these antidotes, and the broadcast team did just incredible. And Pat McAfee coming back always brings enthusiasm. I can't help but saying a lot of good things, part of me, about McAfee.
Yeah, he did get a huge pop, not only when he came out at the beginning of the show as the guest announcer, but when he actually got called in at number 22 in the Royal Rumble tonight as well, too. His tenure in the Rumble didn't last that long. I mean, Michael Cole is still holding on to his announcer record for longest announcer in the ring, but he did get a pop, though, when he got called into the ring at number 22.
No, he did. I mean, Pat McAfee always gets a positive reaction. He's a very likable person and has that great personality from being the football player and hosting his own show, and the success he's enjoyed in WWE. And he and Michael Cole, you can tell there's an affection there, their relationship. And Corey Graves, I love the banter. Corey was always disappointed whenever he hears the music and Pat McAfee comes out. But I enjoyed the moment when I was like, okay, Pat McAfee's entered the Royal Rumble match. Wait a minute. He didn't last long. He saw Omos, and I think it was Braun Breaker. That's who it was. And he's like, no, I'm good. I can just get in the ring, and then I'll eliminate myself. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, it was definitely Omos, because he's 7'4", he's 400 pounds. Like, that guy that's not even a real human in there. Like, I'm not getting in there to fight him. I'm out of here.
No, I'm not either. I think if I just seen him, I would just stay at the desk. I'll be okay. I'm good. I'll just eliminate myself like McAfee did, or find some excuse. I would not want to stand toe-to-toe with those guys. And Michael Cole, I loved how he rubbed it in. You brought up a great observation about, hey, he lasted longer than McAfee. He's still the announcer that has had the best record.
Well, 2024 Men's Royal Rumbles in the books. We know Cody Rhodes is going to be main event at WrestleMania. I'm guessing probably on that Sunday night. If I had to guess, I'm thinking night 2. That's my prediction there. But we know somebody else who's also going to be main eventing WrestleMania, and that's the winner of the women's battle royal, or Royal Rumble, I should say, and Bayley bringing it home. And she
Yes.
came in at number 3, so she was in there she set a new record tonight too for the longest woman ever to be inside of a Royal Rumble with 1 hour, 3 minutes, and 3 seconds.
Bayley just impresses me, Tony, and she's deserving. I'm not sure she's ever won a Royal Rumble. Been a champion, a tag team champion, and I think the whole story with Damage Control was very riveting with what they've been portraying on SmackDowns and leading up to Royal Rumble and this matchup. At first, she was not happy. If you noticed her expression when Kairi Sane and Asuka entered, and then when they got eliminated, she acted disappointed. At one point, she was happy they were working together, but now it'll be fascinating to see who she chooses, because Io Sky is one of the women's champions. Even though she mentioned Rhea, what if though she decides to go, oh, I mentioned Rhea, but I want you, and because you never know if that's going to cause the complete turn, and maybe Bayley becomes more of that baby face instead of the heel. I'm not sure how they could go with it. It's just that comes to mind with this whole Bayley winning the Royal Rumble matchup for the women's side.
I was gonna say my gut is telling me it's Rhea. I mean that's where my instincts would go for the main event there.
Hey, and I would be all for it. I mean, I love Rhea Ripley too, and Bayley. I think they would have just a spectacular match. I mean, you look at the matches Rhea's had with Charlotte, Becky, everyone, and I think it's time for Bayley versus Rhea. I'm with you. It's hard to disagree, man. These are all just good ideas, and you're such a creator. You're the executive, and I'm just, I'm here, man, because I appreciate your wisdom.
Well, speaking of wisdom, and this was actually going to be my next topic, because we mentioned about Cody Rhodes, being the first person or the second person to win the Royal Rumble 2 years back to back. Now, in this Royal Rumble, we actually had somebody who's only the second person ever to both be in the men and women's Royal Rumble in the same night, because we had Nia Jax a couple years ago. And as Cherry Bombs points out, her favorite today was R-Truth. He stole the show for me. So he came out at number 24 in the women's Royal Rumble, was confused, was looking for the guys, got tossed out, came back in at number 24, finally the right number, although he thought it was a tag match there for a minute, though, too, when he had Dirty Dom tag him in. But he got a little confused. So we had another second, I guess you could say, Cody Rhodes being the second to win back-to-back Rumbles, and R-Truth being the second person ever to compete in both the men and women's Royal Rumble. I guess unofficially in the women's Royal Rumble, but he was in the ring and got tossed
We
out.
can count it.
We can count it, right?
And I'm with Cherry Bombs. It was one of my favorite moments as well. R-Truth, just the comedic timing. Adam Pearce, the general manager from Raw, we're even laughing just speaking about it. He's so good, but he can work in the ring. That's what makes him so versatile. That's why everybody loves him and appreciates what he brings to the table. And Dominic, I loved how you brought that up, Tony, where he thought it was a tag match. He's like, yeah, tag me instead of just entering the ring. But it's the kind of nuances that keep making R-Truth such a national treasure. Like they say on commentary, I'm going to borrow from them. He is a national treasure. God bless R-Truth. Keep it coming.
Now, we talked earlier about the men's match not having like these very memorable moments tonight. Like, is there anything really that's going to go down in maybe history? But I feel like in the women's match, we're going to have some stuff to talk about. And I feel like there are some memorable things that happened in this women's Royal Rumble that do stand out. And I'm going to kick it off with the number 5 entry. We had Jordan Grace come in, the TNA Knockout Women's Champion, who looked fantastic and looked like she could take on any woman on that WWE roster. And I love the fact that, WWE for many, many years doesn't give a lot of acknowledge other companies, right? That's just been their motto, their thing.
It's
unless they're
true.
bashing them, right? Like, oh, extremely crappy wrestling, or the WCW stuff with them being second rate. But tonight they not only did they have Jordynne Grace come in, but they really acknowledged her as a big time player. And she did prove herself to be a big time player in this women's Royal Rumble match here in 2024.
I think it speaks volumes to what WWE is doing with kind of opening the door. Not kind of, they are. Let me reinstate that fact with Jordynne Grace coming in. I think she's a special talent. I have not got a chance to watch a lot of her matches. I'm definitely aware of Jordynne Grace. But for me, TNA better hold on to her because I can see a lot of great matchups between her or Bianca Belair, Avi Nall, a lot of the stars that she encountered in the ring. But remember, they did this with Mickey James as well, and it just shows you the importance of working with other promotions to elevate it and shock the audience. Because I did not expect Jordynne Grace to be one of the participants, but I'm glad. I mean, what a just strong showing, literally. I mean, I think she could beat up most men, not just women. To your point.
Well, I know two guys that she could definitely beat up, and they're here on this podcast right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I would just give her money and say, please, I'll just leave you alone. You can have the win. I'm very respectful. That's like Rhea Ripley or any of those ladies. I'm like, hey, listen, we don't even need to have a match. Let me find a way to get out of it.
Yeah, I think Cherry Bomb says that she was amazing, which she totally was. She really kicked a lot of ass while she was in that
She
Rumble
did.
tonight. Now, speaking
I
of,
mean,
oh, go ahead, Tyler.
no, I just get so excited just as we're discussing Jordynne Grace. I mean, that's all I was going to add. Please continue because I think there's just so much we can converse about that it's got the wheel spinning, man, and that's dangerous if I'm talking about myself. So please continue before it gets off the tracks here.
Well, I was going to say we've got the debut tonight of Jade Cargill in a WWE ring, and I kind of saw this coming. She came in at number 28, and they had there was like two little sections where I saw her coming in because Nia Jax was in there. Obviously, that's who they're going to push to for a feud, and I think everybody kind of wants to see that. But there were two sections where Nia Jax was kind of beating the crap out of the women in the ring, throwing them out. But really towards the end, right before the number 28 spot, like they really made an emphasis of like, who can stop Nia Jax? She's unstoppable and she's tossing these ladies out, left and right and nonstop. And then here comes Jade Cargill to not only face off with her, but, maybe show her who the strongest woman is now, maybe in the WWE.
Hey, she sure did, Tony. To pick up Nia Jax was it was a statement. I mean, to see those two even look each other in the eye and we're right there together. People are clamoring for not only Nia Jax versus Jade Cargill after this, but I think Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch. There was a lot of other components, and people were, some people online were saying, well, why aren't we seeing more of Jade Cargill? Well, I think the answer is right there. You make her special, and maybe she need more time to train at the Performance Center to get used to the style of WWE, even though she's been in AEW. Not taking anything away from AEW. I'm not one of those people. I support them all. I'm just saying you could see their point and their rhyme and reasoning. And we get results like this. How can you not be pleased? I think it's easy to change the narrative and perspective once you see the finished product. And there's no denying she looks great. And Nia Jax looks great. Nia Jax, I thought maybe she would win. She was one of my picks, but I forgot, and how dare I, about Jade Cargill. So shame on me out there for people in the comments going, I cannot believe you didn't pick. Well, listen, folks, there's a lot of ladies, and who knows who's going to show up. So there you go.
Well, that was like two of the most memorable things for me was Jade Cargill facing off with Nia Jax, and then Jade Cargill facing off with Bianca Belair, and with the two ladies both pressing ladies at the same time, looking at each other, I thought was like a really cool moment. And I think that did maybe whet the appetite for, more people maybe wanting to see right now is that Bianca Belair versus Jade Cargill. Although I think we're going to get Nia Jax first. If I had to pick, I think that's the WrestleMania match that's going to happen. That's just my hunch is you're going to see the clash of the Titans first. But I think people were really salivating a lot for that Bianca Belair Jade Cargill face off tonight.
I know I was salivating. I can tell you. And I'll tell you, Tony, yeah, not only the Bianca Jade Cargill, we'll move on, but to your point, Nia Jax was angry. I think that you could already tell the storytelling from her reaction, her body language, the expression in general. And it tells you how much faith they have in Nia Jax and all these ladies, and especially a new star like Jade Cargill. Nia Jax was dominating, and then you bring out Jade Cargill, like you were aforementioning, who could even the playing field level it even. And boy, she did and more picking her up. I mean, I think one-armed. I mean, she was flexing while she had Nia Jax up, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I knew she is strong, but to pick up Nia Jax, and I'm saying this respectfully, that takes some kind of woman, even a man. Some men may not can lift a lady, and throw her over the top. And I don't mean that ugly. That's the respect of Nia Jax, because I know some people will twist it. Oh, he said, no, I'm not. I'm just, that does stand out. It's hard not to talk about the Cargill segment. There was some cool moments, but I think that's why I like the women's match a little better. I talked to you off air. As much as I like what the men were able to accomplish, it was moments like this, Naomi coming out, which I think everybody expected. She said she was finishing up with Impact TNA now, the rebrand. And we got Jordynne Grace versus Naomi. Who would have thought? In a WWE ring, you still got some TNA rivalry. So I was thinking, this is pretty cool. I like what they're doing here.
Yeah, I think Cherry Bombs has voted. She wants Jaden Bianca because Bianca is a great performer. I think she has voted for Bianca over Nia Jax as the match she wants to see first. I think it's the match I want to see first, but I think we're going to get the two Titans first, though. I really do
probably
think.
get the Jax confrontation and the payoff there. But I'm with her and yourself, and I think a lot of people. I mean, I'm a big proponent of Bianca as well. So to have Jade, and I like what Jade's able to do, and I cannot wait to see more of her on either Raw, SmackDown, or NXT, whatever platform. She'll flourish. I mean, you can tell. I think that's one thing WWE is getting correct, that some companies should learn from. They've just got a model of, hey, they know how to not only make stars, but keep the momentum. And that's taking nothing away from the other companies. It's just, you can't help but give them their props. I mean, they are doing a lot of things correct right now.
One of my favorite things here on Toned In Entertainment is when I get to see somebody that I've interviewed, on the big stage and, in WWE or AEW or Impact or NWA. And not only that, but like in a pay-per-view. And for the second time, number 27, Roxanne Perez, formerly known as Roxy on the independent scene, who I've had the opportunity to do an in-person interview with. She made a statement in this Royal Rumble. She is such a great performer. And I know she's under the age of 25. She's got a huge, huge upside moving forward. But it was going to be tough to win tonight with the mammoothness of Jade Cargill in there and some of these, Nia Jax and Bayley and some of the experience in there. But it was still great to see Roxanne Perez have a few moments in there to shine in this match.
I can't say enough good things about Roxanne Perez either. And Tony, it's so amazing you get to interview her. She seems like a likable person outside the ring, and you can tell she's got a work ethic. She's very creative, like a lot of these young up-and-coming stars are. And she is a student of wrestling. I mean, you can tell she absorbs a lot of the wisdom that you were alluding to earlier, the knowledge, and she just keeps improving each and every time. And you can tell, I mean, the WWE, the company, NXT brand has a lot of faith in her. And I'm with you. I can't compliment or say enough just terrific things about Roxanne Perez and her performance tonight.
Yeah, so we did have another return. We had Liv Morgan come back after a bit of a hiatus. But much like, the men's Royal Rumble, I mean, we did have Jade Cargill, which was really cool. But I think that was expected. I think we all expected her to show up. But we had no returning star from the past or nothing really shocking. No super free agent show up tonight, which was again just like that's always like that great moment in these Royal Rumbles, but that was like the one thing I don't think we got in anywhere in any of the show tonight. No real surprises here. Maybe we're just spoiled. Maybe we should just
I think
take
we
in
are to a
right.
degree. And that's true. Normally, the Rumble creates a lot of surprises and shock returns or debuts. A lot of people thought, "Oh, we're going to see Mercedes Moné and or Okada." I've heard some friends in chats discuss maybe some New Japan stars and who else that could go to AEW or somewhere else show up at the Rumble and actually be in the WWE. I think to your point, we do kind of get conditioned where it's all about the shock factor when you forget about the story, like Cody Rhodes in the Men's Royal Rumble or Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. I love how a lot of what we're seeing on Raw and SmackDown relate to the stories that they were portraying in the Rumble matchups. I mean, you saw allegiances, but then every man or woman for themselves in each case. So, yeah, I mean, I think it still went well, but I'm with you. I think too, another point is the contract situation. Who's going to where? How long do they have on their contract? But still, there's a little glimmer of disappointment. We didn't get at least some returning stars or some others, but maybe it's been a thing in the past where it can kind of over dilute some of your younger talent, and maybe that's the thinking there. I'm not sure. I'm trying to look at it from another side too, but you were onto something. It was a little less than as far as surprises and who was going to show up.
Yeah, King Atlas is here in the chat, and he was, I believe, at the Royal Rumble. I saw a picture of him at the Royal Rumble, and he does say a great night for wrestling. And then he's asking about Naomi and Jordynne Grace, which we did talk about. I think he's a few minutes late to the conversation, but we did mention them, and those were cool moments. But there's always like that Trish Stratus or the Mickey James, and I'm being a little greedy here, like definitely. Like I said, like we talked earlier, we did talk about Jordynne Grace coming out, which was really awesome, and you mentioned Naomi already about her coming out at number 2 and lasting an hour and 2 minutes. She had set a new record.
It was unreal. Yeah.
Before Bayley shattered that record again tonight.
Oh, she did. Bayley was so smart. I think it told of her intelligence and the experience of a lot of those performers, the way she eliminated people, that there was always a rhyme and the motivation. You could use that word to describe how Bayley's approach and strategy. I think that's what fascinates me, and I'm sure you're the same way, Tony. It's the strategies, like the commentators were saying. I guess it's so much of learning broadcasting that now I'm trying to listen to how they're speaking on these things, and it's I'm not meaning to always use that, but I can't help it. So that's why it kind of ties into the conversation sometimes.
Yeah, he's asking. He said R-Truth twice, and we did mention the R-Truth thing already as well too, coming back to back. So him.
But I agree with him. Yeah. Yeah, great moments. I mean, and that's a beautiful thing. If you can't join us live, there's the replay, in case you missed it.
Yeah, we did touch on all of those things already. So we've covered both Rumble matches now. So let's go into the Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. title match. Logan Paul, again, there's a lot of people hated on him when he first came in, and but the dude can go. The dude can put on a show.
Oh, he can.
And KO has to be one of my favorites in WWE. He just is pound for pound like a solid and really great wrestler, and a guy that I really identify with Kevin Owens. Just this hardworking guy, gritty guy, and it looked like he had the chance to win the U.S. title tonight, but I guess he got caught literally red-handed tonight.
He did. It was brass knucks. You thought he was going to get the advantage over Logan Paul. Logan Paul, it was going to come back to bite him. The heel tactics and methods he employed, and by using, there's always a crony from one of his shows that appears. So we forget sometimes there's going to be some shenanigans, as they say, occur. And then Grayson Waller, Austin Theory come down. They've had their issues with Owens. So Kevin Owens had the had the deck stacked against him, pardon me, and it was trying, but it just what a physical, intense, hard hitting match. And what about Logan Paul's chest? It was so red. I mean, you could tell Kevin Owens was laying those chops in, and if that doesn't tell you that it's got physicality in wrestling, I don't know what we all are. I mean, because it was very telling, and I just like what these two competitors were doing. I mean, it kept me interested, and that's what you got to do if I'm going to watch something and really be invested with it.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of like the DQ matches, especially on a pay-per-view. But I think this one made sense just for the fact of the storytelling purposes and with, Logan Paul trying to cheat and KO, taking maybe like the back door and trying to get a victory, but being caught when the referee looks up and as he's counting three. I did think it made sense. It made sense. And, I definitely see a rematch between those two guys coming in the future.
Yeah, it's one way, Tony, to keep the title on Logan Paul without hurting Kevin Owens is one perspective to say there. But I'm with you and everybody. It's hard not to concur. It was just a very good matchup. I mean, you're not going to have a bad match with Logan Paul as a new star, but especially Kevin Owens. He's just got a working man attitude. I'm not comparing him to Stone Cold, but I think that's why that match was so important at WrestleMania when those two were able to do business. And I like Kevin Owens. The more I watch him, even now, today, presently, there's something special about him, his presentation, and he's a guy that can elevate Logan Paul too. Not that Logan Paul needs elevation, but even as a United States champion, there was a glimmer that maybe, hey, Kevin Owens could win. So what if he's from Canada? He could represent the U.S.
Right? Yeah, Cherry Bombs agrees that she loves KO as well too.
Yeah, how can you not admire the guy? He's just he's fantastic.
Yeah, so overall, I thought it was a good match, good storytelling, and like you said, the ending didn't hurt either guy because both guys really put it on the line and had a really great match. And to me, I mean, there was only two matches tonight, outside of the two Royal Rumble matches.
Oh, I know, and I can see why, because they had to give a lot of time to both the Rumble matches, which I would rather them give more time to those type of matchups. But I think it's fair to say they did give enough time to the other two. I mean, because they were still important, even though they were not the men's or women's Royal Rumble matchups.
Right. The whole time I'm thinking, okay, that's all that's been announced. What other matches are they going to sneak in here tonight? But
Sure.
there was no time. I mean, this thing ran almost 4 hours to begin with just two regular matches or two title matches and two Rumble matches. It almost ran 4 hours long. So there was no time to sneak in an extra match in there.
Not
tonight.
at all. I mean, it started at 7 my time, 8 your time. Okay, going by my time, by the time the Women's Royal Rumble concluded, it was after 8. I mean, it was almost 8:15 here. It had been 9:15 your time.
Right. So then we had the world title match, and we have LA Knight versus AJ Styles versus Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. Again, another match where do you know that Roman Reigns is going to keep the title? Probably, but throughout the entire match, there were still these like little glimmers of hope, which was great that Randy Orton could have won the match or AJ Styles had the opportunity to win the match at either one point. So in a four-way match, which I think they said this is Roman's first title defense in a fatal four-way as well too. You really felt like Roman could lose the title at any chance, whether he be pinned, which he almost was, or from somebody else pinning somebody else.
Yeah, I like it how it made you actually believe there for several moments that Roman Reigns may lose the belt, even though he's been this dominant, superior champion. I think, a lot of us probably predicted he was going to retain, but you wanted to see where it would at least make you suspend your disbelief to where you have that second or that minute you go during a pinfall or a finish, possible finish, where Roman could lose, and all those days being the man were in jeopardy. And but you've already covered it, Tony. I mean, I like how it appeared Randy had his opportunity, so did Styles and LA Knight, and the 3-on-1 strategy to begin the matchup made a lot of sense. They could bend the rules even if they were the good guys, and AJ's kind of in between. You don't know whether he's going to be heel or the good guy, kind of like it. He's kind of the wild card, and where LA Knight and Orton's they're more of the straight up baby faces, but you never know with Orton, though. He's got those voices in his head. I mean, hey, that's Randy Orton. You just never know in these matchups. I get a little tired of the bouncing of the head off the announce table. I think that spot's kind of getting old now. I have to be honest, it was a good matchup, but those kind of spots are starting to kind of drive me nuts. I know there's a reason behind them, but I'm like, I understand some of the outside stuff, but let's keep a lot of it in the ring, though. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I realize no DQ, but even when you've got a stipulation such as that one is, let's at least change up the spots where it's not just, oh, I'm going to drop you on the table, I'm going to bounce your head off, and then I don't know. I'm growing a little. I don't want to say I'm like an old man about it, but it's starting to, I just don't like it. I'm trying to find the words. It's just like, come on. I get it, but in some ways, I'm like, it's overdone. When they're kind of overdone, it's like, where do you go from there? Let's get back to the point of the match.
Yeah, have a little bit different new creativity, you're saying, as far as some of these spots.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was implying. And hey, listen, I respect all these guys. It's not a knock, or I wouldn't know how to book these things. It's just, if I'm going to be honest as a fan, I've got to be transparent and just share and express, a little bit of my ire when it comes to some of these table spots. Because even with the bloodline stuff, as much as I enjoyed what Roman Reigns and the bloodline were able to do, that was a big thing for me, the table spots. It seemed like every time Solo had a drive, I'm like, I get it if it was once in a while, but when it's repetitive, it starts kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. I mean, because you got to go somewhere else. And, and it's just a big thing for me. I don't know. We'll move on, but it's just, I can't always be just so, oh, this is all good. I mean, we got to be a little, share our critique is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Like I said, I was Team McIntyre in the men's Royal Rumble. I was definitely Team AJ Styles here in this fatal 4-way match. I was really hoping, I'm just a huge fan from his Impact days and TNA days to where he is. I've always been a fan of the Phenomenal One. And that's what I really liked about this particular matchup going into it, was like, you've got AJ Styles, who is phenomenal, who could win at any time. You got LA Knight, who's super red hot right now, right? And you got Randy Orton, who's hungry. Like, he knows maybe his days are winding down as a wrestler, but he still has the ability to be a world champion and still have a awesome title reign. So that's what I liked about the matchup going into this. And overall, the match was good. And we got the outcome that I think we all expected, with especially now Cody Rhodes winning the Royal Rumble and Roman Reigns still being the champion. I think we do get that rematch in Philadelphia here in April.
I think you're right. We are going to get that rematch between Cody and Roman. And just going back to the match just real quickly, I do like how Roman is methodical and picks his spots. I mean, he's very intelligent, where he sees the opportunity to strike or have the moment for victory. Kind of a similar situation with Randy Orton, and I think any of these wrestlers. AJ Styles, I know Randy looks, speaking of phenomenal, but so does AJ Styles. My goodness, he's always been in terrific tip-top shape, but he's added more muscle. LA Knight's always looked like $1 million too, and the reactions he is receiving, I'm so happy for him, because the more research I do on his career, he's had to work hard. And from what I understand, he's been close to losing his position, his job overall. So I'm rooting for a guy like that. I'm just so glad he's in this spot.
So overall, what was your standout moment of the night for this Royal Rumble, Tyler? What is the one moment tonight that sticks out for you?
I'm going to have to give it to Bayley winning the Women's Royal Rumble match. I'm happy for her, and I think I actually picked her. I'm just guessing. Listen, it's not that I knew she was going to actually win. We're all estimating. But I just cannot get over how she is so worthy of this moment. And I think with the whole damage control circumstance. Bayley needs more momentum. I think she's done such a great job of helping influence and get people over. She's the one that wanted Dakota Kai and Io Sky part of that group. You know, SummerSlam, I was able to be there in Nashville when they first formed that, and I was shocked because Dakota Kai and Io Sky, I think, were released, and then they came back because that's when Triple H first got creative, and I was like, this is going to be a big deal, and it sure has been. And but Bayley, I think she could take a title, whether it's Io Sky or Rhea, as dominant as those two and as great as they've been as champions. I think Bayley is long overdue. So that's my highlight and one of my favorite moments, if not favorite. I cannot say enough good things about the women's Royal Rumble match. As much as I like the men in these other matchups, there was something different and unique that felt fresh in that women's Royal Rumble match to me that just resonated.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, my favorite, I think, match of the night was definitely KO and Logan Paul, but my standout moment for the night was Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair kind of coming that overhead power just to show off their strength, right?
Oh,
Like
it was incredible.
And to really bring the fans into something that I think could be really cool when it does. It's going to happen. So when it does happen, I felt like that was a moment the fans had been really wanting. And I think this is why Jade Cargill went to WWE and left AEW. It was for these type of moments that she felt like she could only have in WWE. So I felt like she's kind of got that little taste of what she's been hoping for. Not to put words in her mouth because she would kick my ass, but I'm thinking
mine too. I'm not going to say anything bad to her.
Right, but I'm thinking like that for me was my favorite moment of the night, was seeing these two powerful ladies just looking at each other and knowing that something is to come down the line with them here in the future.
Yeah, speaking on the Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior analogy, not to get too overboard, but you could see where now I'm starting to understand why you don't rush things. That's what I liked about Jimmy and Jey Uso in the men's Royal Rumble match. They stared at each other for a little bit before they started exchanging hands and brawling. And I think that's a lost art. I kind of understand it a lot more because Undertaker and Triple H would talk about how they were building to that WrestleMania match. And we're starting to kind of understand it. It's funny, the things that we didn't get as kids, which I'm glad we didn't. Sometimes I still miss those days. But presently, I'm starting to comprehend more of why you don't have to rush everything and go 100 miles per hour. And not saying I don't enjoy some of the up-tempo stuff. I just can appreciate a balance and some of that traditional approach that makes wrestling so. And I'll tell you, AEW, one good thing about Jade Cargill, it's a big loss. But other women like Anna Jay, we've seen her featured in Sky Blue. It's an opportunity for them to step up. And Julia Hart, I mean, she's already doing it, and Toni Storm. So I think for TNA, NWA, and AEW and WWE and all the Japanese promotions, there's a lot of just great women wrestlers and that are doing so well, and I'm so happy for all these promotions. But you're correct, Tony. Jade Cargill could see where the money matches were. Pardon me, that's a mouthful. But you got Nia Jax, Bianca Belair, and hey, if Charlotte comes back, and then you got Tiffany Stratton, you've got Roxanne Perez, you've got all these. I love NXT's champion, their women's champion. Is it Valkyria or Valkyrie?
Well, and next week, I think they're having a pay-per-view as well next Sunday, I believe, in Roxanne.
It's up the road, and I'm kicking myself. I'm not going to it. It's just up the road in Clarksville. Yeah. So, but I'll still try to check it out. I definitely will keep a view on it.
Well, King Atlas says he got chills during that moment. I'm guessing he's talking about the Jade Cargill moment with Bianca Belair. What was the crowd reaction like? Because I know you were there in the stands there, King Atlas. Let us know if you can before we wrap this up. Cherry Bomb says that she agrees the women's was the best Rumble or the best match in her opinion. And King Atlas also mentions Jimmy and Jay facing off, which was really cool. It was nice to see them come in at number 1 and number 2. Oh, King Atlas does say it was crazy. Like, you can't always tell on TV because the crowd sounds aren't that loud, like through the Peacock network, that you couldn't really tell if the crowd was sometimes, other than when they were singing maybe Cody's song, You could hear them go, oh, but like
Right.
I wish they had better crowd sound so we could really feed off the energy. Like I'm sure you guys, yeah, he says people ate it up, which I know that they had to, right? Like we were eating it up on
Gotta
our
be.
couches, right?
Oh, I was, man. I was pumped up. I mean, I just love being a fan like you, Tony, and so many others like us that we just enjoy these type of premium live events. I still call them a pay-per-view.
They are
Even though they've changed
pay-per-views.
the
Yeah,
title.
they're
To
still
me, they're still a
pay-per-view.
pay-per-view. It's just that it's on Peacock now. That's
Well, we
only
got to pay
difference.
for Peacock, right? So it is pay-per-view, right?
Yeah, it's true. You still got to pay for it. And Royal Rumble is one of my favorites. I mean, it still stands the test of time. I mean, you're heading closer to WrestleMania. We've got an Elimination Chamber in Australia. I'm happy for Rhea Ripley, Grayson Waller, a lot of the wrestlers from Australia. I think a lot of people thought maybe the Iconics, speaking of Australian wrestlers, would probably, or if not possibly, is the wording I was trying to use there, would make an appearance at Royal Rumble. But maybe it wasn't in the cards. I don't know their situation though.
Right. Well, either way, I thought it was pretty solid tonight. Again, there was no WT. To me, in my opinion, I think Geek Atlas has a different opinion, but there was no WTF moment like Edge returning or something like completely shocking. I think we all had an idea Naomi's contract was up, right? Jordan Grace was a big shocker because having them
that was
come
the
in
big
from
one.
TNA. I think that's the big shocker right there. R-Truth being in 2 Royal Rumbles in one night. So there was definitely some fun moments, but I don't think there's that WTF moment or even people mentioned last year, like the spot with Ricochet and Logan Paul colliding with each other, like something that people are going to talk about, right? The viral moments that people are going to talk about for a long time. Other than maybe, Jay Cargill, facing off with Bianca and Nia Jax. I think that was the biggest moments of the show, which was really cool. And got my adrenaline pumping, and I was getting excited for. So yes, there were good moments. There were very good moments in the show, but again, no WTF moment. I think maybe Tyler, you can agree with that.
No, I do. It didn't have those kind of moments. I thought maybe I've even heard Undertaker might make an appearance. I don't know whether he was going to wrestle, but or The Rock. That's a good point. Maybe
Like
since
King
The Rock's an
brings up,
executive
right.
now. Yeah, that's a brilliant point. I mean, imagine if Cody won and everybody just thought, oh, because of Roman, and he ends up showing up at 30 or something and ends up eliminating Punk or Rhodes or Gunther and McIntyre and spoils everybody's story, and he just, because he's The Rock, he's like, oh yeah, I'm getting that match with Roman. You'll have to wait. I mean, you could really put that in a storyline as basic as it sounds.
Yeah, so overall, some great moments. Is there anything else, Tyler, that you wanted to touch on about tonight's Royal Rumble that maybe we haven't brought up yet?
I was kind of looking through my notes. I apologize if I'm having to look down. I'll tell you who. Braun Breaker was hard not to. We've already talked about it, but I think Bronson Reed. He had a strong showing, and I think Gunther picked him up. I mean, that talk about another feat of strength, and I liked AOP coming out with Lashley, continuing the story. That was neat. And seeing Paul Ellering, that's as old school as it gets, man. I love Paul Ellering. I mean, he has the look. He looks intense, and to see Lashley, I like where they're going between those two factions. So for me, like you said, there wasn't much. I mean, as far as the first, and I shouldn't say there's not much. There was some great moments, but like you said, the finish to me, I think it was the start of it with the brothers Jimmy and Jay, and then the finish with Drew or CM Punk and Cody were the actual finish. But there was more, more of the competitors like McIntyre and Gunther, and so no, I think we've covered it. It's kind of hard to recall all of this. I know a lot of people think, well, you just watched it. How can you forget? But it's like a blur. It's like we get so pumped up and amped. It's such a blur.
Yeah, overall good show, and this is our first actual post show review that we've ever done, and I would definitely like to do more of these. This was really fun to do, and
it was a blast, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. I'd definitely be up for doing another review. And I don't know how we're going to do Australia. If you want to do that one, I'm going to have to wait and watch it the next day. It's like at 5 a.m. here or something.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'll wait and watch that a little later. I'm not sure I can breathe.
We don't have to do it the minute that it's over with. It's just one of those things we can do.
We could have waffles or breakfast.
Right.
We'll do brunch.
We'll do brunch and review.
There we go.
Let's see. King Atlas says he was stuck in traffic leaving the arena. I needed this. Thank you, guys. I'm sure the traffic is an absolute nightmare trying to get out of there. It's already bad in Tampa to begin with, and you throw in 40,000 fans, 40,000 plus they announced tonight at the arena. And King Atlas, we do enjoy you, being along with us for the ride. And if you want to jump on and do one of these post shows with us, I would love to have your knowledge out here. King Atlas is a great dude. I've had him on the channel at least twice, I think twice so far, for Pro Wrestling Action. We've done some interviews. Good dude, very knowledgeable, making some waves in the independent scene right now. And hold on, we got one more question. What's your favorite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie? Do you have a favorite Rock movie?
I'm not seeing a lot of The Rock's movies, believe it or not, but the one I'm seeing is, I know it's not exactly the same way, and a lot of people say the original is better, but I liked Walking Tall.
Okay.
I mean, I actually did enjoy his rendition of it, because that guy's from Tennessee, Buford Pusser. That was a real guy. That was a tough dude, former wrestler. I didn't realize this, and I learned something new all the time, but Rock had to give his own representation. I thought they did a good job. It wasn't exactly a complete remake because they had to make it still feel unique, but still a good movie.
I think mine would probably be, off the top of my head, I'm sure he's made like 60 movies right now, and I'm probably missing one that I actually probably do like. But I actually enjoyed Baywatch, which I didn't think I was going to like, and I actually thought it was a fun movie. I thought it was a good reboot that took stuff from the original, but yet still modernized it and made it fun. And I didn't think it was going to be good, and I actually remember pretty enjoying that movie pretty well. I also liked Get Smart, where he was with Steve Carell as well too. That was another movie that comes to my top of my mind for favorite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies.
Well, and here's another one. What He in the Rundown? That was a good one. I think that had The Rock in it too. So that's another one. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I may have somebody else.
It might be Stone. Is it Stone Cold?
It may be Stone Cold. Maybe it's Stone Cold. My favorite Stone Cold movie. This is so funny because I'll say another movie and it may just have another wrestler. I thought, hey, is The Rock in that one?
Well, we got one more question. If you want to answer some more questions, Tyler, we got favorite and worst gimmick match. Mine was the worst. Go for it. What's your worst?
Ahead. No, mine, the worst, that's kind of hard. It was probably, I'm not sure. There's been several. Everybody tends to go to the coal miner glove on a pole match, but I don't think that's the worst one. There's been that's hard for me. I'm going to let Tony answer.
I'm going to go. It's similar to a coal miner on a pole match, but I'm going to go with the Judy Bagwell on a pole match from the WCW days with Vince Russo. That's the one. That's the one that stands out for me. My favorite gimmick match was, it has to be the War Games. I'm a huge War Games fan, especially from back in the NWA days and the WCW days. I was a huge horseman, when the Horsemen were in there and going up against the Road Warriors and Dusty and those guys. That was probably my favorite gimmick match.
Oh, it's classic. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree. I like a good regular cage matchup. I even like the blue cage where Hogan and Bundy used to. Believe it or not, I know everybody is like, They were critical of it, but I enjoyed it. I thought what Hogan and Bundy were able to do. I mean, and people will probably see through it and go, "Really, you're going to pick them?" But hey, it's my preference. I got to go with
Little Fettuccine says one more question if we don't mind, and last one: favorite tag and tag team finisher.
Favorite tag? That's a good one. Boy, there's been a lot of good tag teams and finishers. Boy, that's a good one. It's got me thinking. I don't want to be here all night, but I'm trying. I'll tell you what, I like Tully and Arn. I can't remember their finisher, sadly, but I think if I've got to go old school, I'll tell you. And here's a team. Hart Foundation. I've got the shirt on. Brad and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I got to go with the Hart Foundation. Arn and Tully is up there. I think, but the Hart Foundation and with Jimmy Hart especially made sense. All of them had the Hart in their names, and the way those two guys worked. I mean, Brad went on to become this great singles competitor, but the chemistry those two guys had, Jim the Anvil and the Hitman, were just impeccable. And I'm trying to recall their finisher. I could have told you if I watched the match, but that's what's sad.
Well, I know Jim the Anvil held him up and Brett would run off the ropes and do the clothesline. I can't remember the name of it offhand, but I know that was their finisher for most of their matches.
Thank God I got Tony here. I was drawing a blank. I mean, when you explained it, I started memorizing it, but to actually come up with an actual name of the finisher, I was like, oh boy, well, I'm really struggling here.
Yeah, mine is, I mean, both favorite tag team and favorite finisher goes to the same one. It's the Road Warriors and the Doomsday Device. I mean, do you get any better than, Animal propping somebody up on the shoulders and Hawk coming off the top rope?
Oh, it's great.
Using the guillotine almost on somebody. The Road Warriors, obviously, Hawk and Animal for me has always been my favorite tag team and favorite finisher. Thank you, little Fettuccine 68 for those.
Thank you.
We do appreciate that. Well, Tyler, we do.
Great question.
We do have another show coming up this week.
We do, man. We've got some a promotion that was revolutionary that had a lot of stars. WSX, is that correct? Is that
Wrestling
correct
Society X. We're going
Wrestling
back.
Society X. Okay, I did get the initials right. I think. Yeah.
We're going back. Yeah, they aired 9 or 10 episodes. I actually have to finish watching all of them. I'm at episode 5 right now. And so I'm going to finish them up either tomorrow or Monday so we can get ready for our review this Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. We're going to do it live here on Toned In Entertainment. And it's definitely been interesting going back and watching some of those episodes. So I can't wait to hear your take. And I definitely got some takes on, Wrestling Society X.
Well, and I'm excited for your perspectives as well. It's going to be a fun show, man. And I like, checking out alternatives in wrestling too. I think that's healthy. As much as we like the current stuff, this was, you'll just have to wait and see. I don't want to spoil it. I'm not going to do Paul Heyman. That you'll have to go and check it out. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to discuss it. And when you gave me the idea, Tony, that we're going to review this, I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I'm like, oh, like anything, very interesting. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking of interesting, and I'm not going to give away the subject, but even after Wrestling Society X, we have another episode planned that goes even further back than Wrestling Society X for another themed one that we're going to do a few weeks from now. But because we've got to watch a lot of content, and just so people know, I actually have to watch these on the DVD. And then I have to ship the DVDs to you to watch them because you can't find it anywhere online. So that's just a little teaser as to what's to come down the line. But we got more wrestling content. Tyler, any cool stuff that we should know that you have going on?
Yeah, speaking of a Royal Rumble review, Tony, I've had a blast on this one. WrestleManiacs will be discussing some moments from this premium live event that's with Waylon and myself, Tyler, and we've got Steve Fox, a friend of his. That's I also consider a friend, going to join us. Be nice to get another voice on the show, and it'll be a good time. Tyler's Takedowns will be returning this week. We kind of took a little break, but that'll be returning on SJP World Media. And I mean, Tony and Entertainment, I can't say enough good things, whether I'm on here or not. Tony is just doing great with his interviews. The Teddy Long one, go check it out. I've shared it already. It's just all these wrestlers from independent promotions. You never know. Roxanne Perez, it could be another example of somebody being in the Royal Rumble. You just never know. Tony, I'm just so envious in a great way. It's a compliment to your talents. I'm putting him over. He didn't have to pay me or bribe me. This is me being honest. He's such a talented guy. And you talk about knowledgeable. I mean, there's a reason people want this guy to interview them. Trust me.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Tyler. I really do. Yeah, man, I just have a lot of knowledge thanks to my dad. I got to thank him for putting me in front of a TV for hundreds of thousands of hours when I was a child. Instead of watching PBS, we were watching wrestling. So thank you so much, because that definitely paid off in the long run.
Nothing against PBS.
Nothing against PBS, of course.
But wrestling sounds better.
Yes, definitely. So what we got coming up on the channel, obviously, we talked about Wrestling Society X this Tuesday. Next Saturday, we will be at CCW Bash at the Brew in Hialeah doing some more live in-person interviews. And then the following Monday, we have AC Divine. He's making his name known on the independent scene. He's up in North Carolina. Recently saw him down in Florida. We're making some stuff happen. And we've also got Jaden Steele coming up. He's a hungry young wrestler from North Florida. Met him a couple weeks ago down here in South Florida. He's doing some stuff this weekend in Florida. We're going to have him on the channel February 12th. So definitely just some more cool stuff. Plus, we've got some NWA stuff coming up as well too, but we can't really talk about it till those episodes air as far as like some of the guests that we are going to bring on the show. So I can't wait for that.
I'm looking forward to these new interviews and the ones you got coming up, Tony. They're always must see, and I learn something all the time by watching them. And you and Julie do a great job as well. Your other co-hosts that started with you, and I'll tell you, whether it's trivia or doing one of these shows, a recap, it's always fun, man. You always make me feel good. You put up with me. That's what I'm trying to tell your audience. He puts up with this guy. I mean,
Tyler's easy to put up with. Tyler's easy to put up with.
Well, I'm not sure. Are you sure? I mean, you don't have to. Okay.
We got you back on Tuesday. We got you for some cool stuff down the road.
So my contract, my dates are still
yeah, they're still good. They're still good.
I got to prove myself a little more. So there we go.
We can all improve ourselves a little bit more. That's right. For sure. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for staying up late here on this Saturday after Royal Rumble.
Oh, no problem. I'm happy to, man. I'm already wired anyway, so why not?
Right.
Let's Rumble.
It's just easier, right? We're going to be up anyways. Let's do a post show.
Yeah, and I'll probably go back and watch the press conference and see what Triple H.
Yeah, we got to go do that next. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, guys, if you like any of those shows that we mentioned, plus we've got just lots of cool stuff coming up throughout the rest of January, February, March. Guys, you know what to do. You need to hit that red subscribe button so you can stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.